Hello 21st century. I am the famous, the amazing John Pierre in the virtual flesh. I am British in the afterlife. I liked the accent better. I have come back from the dead to help you understand my theory of cognitive development. My time-tested and, if I may say so, very awesome theory describes how adolescents and children's logical thinking changes throughout their development in fairly predictable stages. Let me start by giving a summary of my theory. In the early 1920s I began using the clinical method to research children's development, and after some time I came to the conclusion that children learn and develop by constructing their own beliefs and understandings about the world they live in by interacting with it. They are not simply passive sponges of knowledge but active and motivated learners. In my greatness I have come up with a new lexicon for describing the phenomenon of children's single quote cognitive development. I use the term scheme to describe how similar actions or thoughts are grouped together and used repeatedly in response to the environment. Children use these schemes to deal with a new event either by assimilation or accommodation. When a child assimilates something, they are taking something and using an existing scheme to deal with it. Like when a child finds a package covered in bright paper and colorful ribbon and concludes that it is a present. Accommodation happens when a child encounters something new that does not fit perfectly into an existing scheme. When this happens, they accommodate this new thing by either modifying an existing scheme or creating a whole new one. Like the first time a child sees a zebra, they may either modify their horse scheme to include the zebra or conclude that it needs its own scheme of zebra. Both of these, accommodation and assimilation, are used by children every day when they are interacting with their physical and social environment. It is vital that children interact with their environment both physically and socially for proper cognitive development. My research has indicated physical interaction with one's own environment is crucial to cognitive development in that it helps a child explore important concepts by manipulation of their environment. For example, a child will explore the concept of gravity by dropping things from a great distance just to watch them fall and then explode. I myself like to explore that concept all the time. Horizontal ellipsis, I find it highly amusing, I must say. Don't think I forgot about the importance of social interactions. I think they are vital to the cognitive development of a child. Both pleasant interactions and unpleasant ones. Though repeated interactions with others, children learn different perspectives of the world, and they also get help from others to see if their observations contain logical inconsistencies. The children I worked with were always working out problems they encountered together. It was so cute. Speaking of working out problems, when children comfortable using existing schemes to respond to new events, I say they are in equilibrium. However, when a child cannot use their current knowledge and schemes to deal with the information they are encountering, they become discomforted and enter a state of disequilibrium. This state usually spurs them to try and make sense of what they are observing and return to equilibrium. In this state they will usually try to create new schemes and or add additional information to clarify the puzzling situation, and therefore disequilibrium promotes learning. Now remember folks, my theory helps to explain the development of children's cognitive thinking. I have outlined 4 cognitive stages to help describe this. Progression. First stage of development begins at birth, and I have termed it sensorimotor. In this stage the child cannot think about things that are not immediately in front of them, and their behaviors are largely focused on behaviors and perceptions. They focus mainly on what they are seeing and doing at any given moment. The second cognitive stage is one of pre-operational capabilities. This stage describes a child of about 2 years old and persists until they are about 5 or 6 years old. In this stage the child can think about events and objects beyond their immediate view but cannot think like an adult in a logical, reasoned way. In this stage they exhibit pre-operational egocentrism, whereby they are not able to see things from another's point of view. This is one reason why conversations with toddlers can be so darn confusing. Logic is not their strong point at this stage. They also have cognitive limitations as far as conservation is concerned. They have trouble understanding the fact that the amount of something stays the same no matter the configuration it is in. This is why you should never put a 5-year-old in charge of your checkbook. Trust me, it never works out, even though you can usually pay them in gum. The next stage of a child's development comes about age 6 or 7 and lasts until they hit about 11 or 12 years of age. This stage is called concrete operations stage. In this stage, their thought process evolves to include the ability to think more logically, like an adult, but it is limited to concrete reality. They also come to realize that their own thoughts and conclusions may be opinions that are not supported by others' perceptions and feelings. They also may still exhibit problems understanding abstract thoughts such as fractions and world peace. The final stage I have named the formal operational stage. In this stage, the child is now able to apply logical thinking to abstract ideas as well as concrete objects. At this stage, I think the child is ready for abstract concepts such as higher-level mathematics and of course solving world peace. If children in this stage were given full reign of military policy, all weapons would be scrapped and we would all have to hold hands and sing "They can be a little, how do I say, full" of formal operational egocentrism or idealism.
Hey John, I know you are brilliant and all, but I think there might be some room for improvement in your theory. I mean, it has good and bad points.
Oh really, Mrs. McClellan? Please enlighten me.
Well, for starters, when using your theory, I have found it difficult to really nail down the definition for accommodation and assimilation. They are quite vague. I need more specific descriptive words to help me explain what my students are doing when encountering new knowledge. Unfortunately, I think this is one section where other theories might have a leg up on you, old PJ.
But you have to admit that my idea that children construct rather than absorb knowledge was a pretty good one. I mean, they brought me back from the dead to tell you guys about it.
I know, and you got it right when you theorized that children must relate what they already know the new experiences they encounter. I have to say though, your sequence is filled with all sorts of holes. I mean, who told you it was a good idea to put concrete ages to each developmental stage? Didn't you ever think that maybe the children in your very limited research pool weren't exactly like every other child in the world? I would have hoped you would have taken that into consideration. I mean, come on. Kids are pretty much the same, but if you look at different societies around the world, they can introduce kids to different kinds of thought at different ages depending on the cultural context.
Hey lady, give me a break. Remember, I lived in the 1920s. I didn't have the internet, transatlantic daily flights, and therefore access to thousands of different pools of children from all over the world. I had wars at my back doorstep, thank you very much, and all that to get in my way. I did what I could with what I had. Even with all of that in my way, I figured out that kids, when confronted with challenges, are spurred on to revise their thinking.
Sorry, I never thought of it that way. I guess even though you got the ages wrong, you did the sequence in which kids generally reach the different stages right. The kids I teach don't necessarily use formal operational thinking as much as you would have us think. But they do begin to use it only after they use concrete thinking. And if OU had had access to more diverse pools of children to study, who knows how much better your theories would have been thought out.
Why thank you. I have, in the afterlife, been able to meet so very many people from all over the world, and now I can see that formal operational reasoning skills vary from culture to culture. I mean, if I could do it all again, I think I might have even seen that within the group I studied that there were more differences from individual to individual in their logical reasoning abilities. But hey, it's not like we get a second go around. Unless it's virtual like this one.